Thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. Today I wanted to talk to you about VA pension. VA pension. This is not retirement. This is not military retirement. It is an additional benefit that the VA has for veterans. So we all know, well, not all of us, but a good chunk of us know about VA compensation. And really, quite honestly, that's the best track to go, provided that you have some service-connected conditions. However, what about those of us that may not have an abundance of service-connected conditions? Can't prove them, can't create the nexus, just don't have any, whatever the case is. There is a benefit, again, called VA pension. So if you want to learn more about VA pension, please stick with me. Give me a thumbs up. They're for free. And subscribe, share with a friend. And if you know any other information about VA pension, please, happy for you to share in the comments. And I'll put all of the information in the comment section below, or not comments, I'll also comment, but in the description. So VA pension. So you have to, there's two qualifiers that you must have in order to even start to look at this. So one is you have to have other than a dishonorable discharge. So you can't have a dishonorable discharge, which makes sense. The other is your annual household income must be less, and your net worth, household income and net worth must be less than the limits that are set forth by Congress with regard to poverty levels and so forth. So, and I'll get into all of that. I'll give you the dollar figures on how much you could potentially get from VA pension if you fall under these different qualifiers. Bear with me. We'll get there. I want to go in a specific order for you. So again, your annual household income must be below the numbers that are set forth by Congress with regard to poverty levels and so forth. Now, if you have served prior to September 8th, 1980, you must have served at least 90 days of active duty. And one of those days must have been during a wartime period. So you can look up all the different wartime periods, whether it's Vietnam or Korea or, well, I guess it would just be those ones. So for prior to September 8th, 1980. Now, if it's after that, basically September 8th, 1980 and beyond, then what you have to have is you have to have 2 years of active duty. Okay, so 2 years of active duty, and one of those days must have been during a wartime period. Okay, now if you meet that and you have one of those things, right? So if you are other than a dishonorable discharge, your annual income is less than the poverty level, and you have 1 day of wartime, and either 90 days of active duty or 2 years of active duty, depending on if you're before September 8th or after September 8th, 1980, then you could potentially qualify for this benefit. So looking into VA pension, the dollar amounts, again, I'll get there. One more piece. So you have to be one of these. You either need to be in like a skilled nursing type of a facility where you need long-term care. You need to be 65 years or older. Now, it's not all of these. It's one of these. You have to at least be one of these, okay? So 65 years or older, or be in a skilled nursing facility, seeking long-term care. Be permanently disabled. Now, when we're looking at pension, we're not talking about the compensation side, because if you're permanent, if you're permanent and total disabled, well, then you're 100%, which the 100% will pay you a way better pay on the compensation side than going the pension route. So that's separate. So sometimes what happens is people read this and it says, be permanently and totally disabled. They're not talking about compensation, permanent and total. They're talking about just being a person who is permanently and totally disabled outside of VA compensation. Okay, that's important to note. So Or the next one would be that you are receiving Social Security disability or supplemental security benefits. So with those, most of the time what I see is either 65 or older, or I'll see that somebody's receiving Social Security disability. Those are the two biggest ones that I see. Now, when it comes to the dollar figures, there's different buckets, right? So, you know, like with everything, there's all these different buckets, and there's a lot of calculation that go into it, and the application is a bit rough. I would highly suggest working with an accredited veteran rep to make sure that all of the T's are crossed, all the calculations are done right, and you're subtracting out everything you can. So the way that it works is they take your total income, and then they start subtracting out things that they could subtract out, right, to come up with kind of a net income for you. So medical care, those types of things, they'll minus out of the income to create this this end result dollar figure for you. So that's something that you'd really want to work with an accredited vet rep with to make sure that you're not stinking anything up. So let's pretend that all of that stuff jives out, and let's, just to use easy numbers, well, first I'll give you an example. So what they'll do is they'll do an offset. So they'll take your total income, whatever it is at the end, and let's say that you're short of that congressional amount by, we'll say $500, right? $500 a month. If you're short $500 a month below the federal, basically the poverty level, if you're $500 short of that per month, then you will receive a pension check for $500 a month to bring you up to the poverty level. So they're not going to take you over. There's a cap, right? So this cap is that dollar figure. So if you make $0, if you completely zero out and you make nothing, what does that look like? So if you make nothing and you do not qualify for any sort of housebound additional benefits, and not, you don't qualify for aid in attendance, you're just, just solely based on your income and no other needs, you're looking at just over $16,000 a year in VA pension. So you do not need to have served in a war, so you don't need to be a combat veteran. You just need to have been in service during a wartime period of 1 day. So you don't need to be a combat veteran for this benefit. So again, $16,037 is that kind of the base level. Now, if you have housebound complications, then that jumps up to $19,598 per year, and again, tax-free. And then if you have aid in attendance and you require that type of care, then you're looking at $26,752. So $26,752 in tax-free benefit for pension. Again, I'll put all the information below. Whether you need this or not, it's good to know that it exists, because you can then share it with another veteran who may be in need of that type of benefit. So again, it's an offset as well. So I mean, if I'm using the example of if you make nothing, but let's use that last one for an example, $26,752. Let's say that you have $20,000 of income. As they net it out and figure out what your actual qualifying income is, you have $20,000 a year. Well, then the VA will then in turn make up that additional $6,752 for you in pension checks. So great benefit. It's a safety net. It's not this overwhelming amount of money, but it's at those levels, every nickel counts. So with that, I'll go ahead and end it. And thank you all for watching. I appreciate it, especially if you made it to the end. If we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.